Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. The loner is not lonely. She's just allergic to noise disguised as people. Somewhere between silence and strategy lives the Sigma female, the woman who turned solitude into an empire. While others post about self-love and energy protection, she's quietly building a kingdom of emotional sovereignty and mental dominance. You'll never catch her explaining herself. Not because she's mysterious, but because she knows most people can't read beyond surface tension. Studies even show that people who embrace solitude process information more deeply and detect deception faster. That's not antisocial. That's evolution wearing sunglasses. This isn't the type of woman who vanishes because she's fragile. She disappears because the world runs on chaos and she operates on clarity. Her silence isn't weakness, it's her control panel. While everyone else screams for attention, she's already 10 moves ahead, sipping her coffee, deleting another unnecessary contact from her mental Rolodex. So if you've ever wondered what happens when Machiavelli's mind is reborn in a woman who'd rather outthink than outshine, stay here, because this video isn't for the crowd. It's for the loners, the strategists, the Sigma females who learned to weaponize their peace. Number 1. She intimidates, not by volume, but by composure. She intimidates not by volume, but by composure. Her silence doesn't just quiet a room, it disarms people who rely on noise to feel significant. Most people draw power from reactions. They need others to flinch, to argue, to defend themselves. But when a Sigma female meets that energy with calm indifference, it creates a kind of psychological echo. The other person hears their own chaos bouncing back at them. Her power doesn't come from dominance, it comes from not needing to prove anything. She's the type who listens long enough to expose what someone is really saying underneath their words. While others talk themselves into corners, she stays unshaken, letting her restraint do the heavy lifting. That calm is unnerving because it leaves no handles to grab, no emotion to manipulate, no weakness to exploit. In a world addicted to reaction, her composure feels like defiance. And it is. It's her way of saying, "You don't control the rhythm here. I do." People who thrive on drama or validation crumble around her because she refuses to play the emotional games they're used to winning. When they push, she doesn't push back. She steps aside. When they provoke, she doesn't perform. That stillness creates confusion. How do you fight someone who won't step into your arena? That's the beauty of her power. She wins wars most never realize she's fighting. Her calm isn't coldness, it's discipline. It's years of learning that silence protects more than words ever could. Every time she chooses not to react, she builds another layer of control over herself and over the situation. People call her intimidating, but what they're really saying is that her peace makes them confront their own lack of it. That's why her presence feels so heavy, even when she says nothing. It's not about authority or arrogance, it's about mastery of her emotions, her energy, and her ego. She doesn't need to be loud to be respected. Her calm is her roar, and it's the kind of power that doesn't need witnesses to be real. Those who understand it stay quiet around her. Those who don't talk too much and reveal exactly why they can't stand her silence. Number 2, she doesn't fear being misunderstood. She profits from it. She doesn't fear being misunderstood. She profits from it. Most people waste their energy trying to be seen clearly, desperate to correct false assumptions. But the Sigma female learned early that clarity invites control. The more people think they know you, the easier it is for them to predict and manipulate you. So she lets them misunderstand her, and quietly uses their wrong assumptions as camouflage. While they're busy defining her, she's studying them. While they gossip about her motives, she's gathering data on theirs. Being misunderstood gives her an advantage that most overlook. It lets her move freely without expectation. People underestimate her, and she prefers it that way. Underestimation is her invisibility cloak. It buys her space, silence, and surprise. The less they understand her, the less they can anticipate her next move. It's not deception. It's survival strategy in a world that feeds on oversharing and emotional transparency. When someone calls her cold, detached, or mysterious, she doesn't correct them. She nods and lets them stay comfortable in their illusion. Because the truth is, she's not cold, she's calculating. She's not detached, she's discerning. She's not mysterious, she's private. But explaining that would ruin the advantage that misunderstanding gives her. It keeps her unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. What most don't realize is that misunderstanding also acts as her filter. Those who truly see her will dig deeper, ask smarter questions, and earn their way into her reality. The rest will project their fears and walk away, saving her the trouble of sorting them out. In that way, she turns other people's assumptions into tools of elimination. She never chases understanding. She watches who's patient enough to discover it. That's why she moves through life untouched by opinions. She's learned that misinterpretation is not an insult. It's insulation. It protects her from being owned by perception. People may call her unreadable or too complex, but that's the point. When you live by strategy, being misunderstood isn't a flaw. It's the perfect disguise for freedom. And the Sigma female wears that disguise so well, the world still hasn't figured out whether to fear her, admire her, or follow her. Number 3, she doesn't forgive, she recalculates. When she says she's moved on, it doesn't mean she's forgiven. It means she's updated her system. The Sigma female doesn't process betrayal or pain like everyone else. She doesn't sit in bitterness or play victim. She studies the situation like an engineer fixing a flaw in her design. To her, forgiveness isn't about setting someone else free. It's about setting her own mind back in order. But make no mistake, she doesn't forget. She archives. She remembers every pattern, every word, every deviation in behavior, not for revenge, but for calibration. When someone wrongs her, she doesn't waste time on emotional theatrics. She steps back, analyzes what she missed, identifies where her intuition hesitated, and rewrites her boundaries. In that process, she doesn't forgive. She upgrades. Her heart runs on logic once she's been burned. She knows that some mistakes are lessons, but repeated mistakes are choices, and she won't allow herself to become a repeat target. That's why people think she's heartless when she cuts them off. But in reality, she's just deleting corrupted data before it infects her peace again. Forgiveness for her is not a moral duty, it's emotional housekeeping. She clears resentment because it wastes energy, not because the other person deserves redemption. She doesn't believe in holding grudges. They take up space she could use for growth. But she also doesn't offer second chances like candy. If she lets you back in, it's because you've proven your consistency, not because she's forgotten what happened. Her recalculation phase is quiet, clinical, and absolute. She doesn't announce it or seek closure. She just rewires her access points and strengthens her firewall. Once that's done, she moves forward like nothing happened. But you'll never get the same version of her again. Every betrayal modifies her architecture, making her sharper, calmer, harder to fool. To some that looks cold. To her, it's self-preservation at its highest form. She doesn't carry hate, she carries data. Every experience teaches her how to move smarter, feel cleaner, and connect deeper with those who earn it. She doesn't forgive, she evolves. And that's far more dangerous than any grudge. Number 4, she doesn't reject the world. She outgrows its noise. She doesn't reject the world. She outgrows its noise. It's not that she hates people or hides from them. She just no longer finds comfort in the constant buzz of empty talk, forced connections, and shallow performance. The Sigma female once tried to fit in, to blend into the rhythm of everyone's expectations. But at some point the noise became unbearable. The endless opinions, the recycled emotions, the mindless validation loops. So she stopped participating, not because she couldn't handle it, but because she realized she didn't need it. Her withdrawal isn't bitterness, it's precision. She filters what enters her mind the same way a master coder filters data, removing everything that corrupts her clarity. She's learned that peace isn't silence, it's the absence of nonsense. Most people crave attention, not depth. They talk to fill space, not to build meaning. And that's why she walks away. She's not running from society. She's tuning her frequency to something rarer, genuine thought, emotional truth, and calm observation. When she chooses distance, it's an act of control, not isolation. She knows how easy it is to get infected by collective chaos, how other people's fears, gossip, and small ambitions can slowly shrink your mind. So she protects her space like it's sacred ground. She listens selectively, engages strategically, and disappears deliberately. Every conversation, every connection, every exchange is filtered through one question. Does this add clarity or clutter? If it's clutter, she disengages with quiet authority. People often mistake her silence for arrogance, but it's actually restraint. She doesn't feel the need to correct every lie or join every debate. She's not trying to be understood by the world anymore. She's mastering her ability to understand herself amid the world's noise. That's what separates her from the crowd. The truth is, she hasn't turned her back on humanity. She's just stopped lowering her volume to match its chaos. She exists above it now, not because she thinks she's better, but because she's learned that true power is not in being loud, but in being selective about what deserves your sound. Number 5. Her trust isn't a gift, it's a security clearance. Her trust isn't a gift, it's a security clearance. For the Sigma female, letting someone into her inner world isn't an act of kindness or weakness. It's an operation. She treats trust the way a strategist treats intelligence, earned, verified, and constantly monitored for breaches. She's learned the hard way that access to her life is access to her peace, and peace is her most valuable asset. That's why she doesn't hand it out like a free pass. It's not cynicism, it's quality control. She reads people before they even realize they're being read. It's not magic, it's hyper-awareness sharpened over years of watching patterns. A flicker in your tone, a contradiction in your story, a subtle shift in your energy. To most people, those are invisible. To her, they're warnings. Her intuition isn't a vague feeling. It's her built-in lie detector, scanning for inconsistencies. And when she catches one, she doesn't call it out or start a scene. She just quietly withdraws, shutting doors you didn't even know she'd opened for you. Being erased from her psychological archives isn't dramatic. It's surgical. She doesn't ghost to punish. She deletes to protect. She knows some people thrive on testing boundaries, exploiting trust, and feeding off vulnerability. That's why her access points are few and heavily guarded. To be trusted by her is to be vetted by a process you'll never see but always feel. This is also why people often describe her as hard to get close to. It's not that she's incapable of intimacy, it's that she values intimacy so much, she refuses to dilute it with the wrong people. For her, trust isn't about believing you won't hurt her, it's about proving you won't compromise the ecosystem of calm she's built for herself. If you make it past her gates, you're inside a fortress. One she built out of silence, observation, and self-respect. But breach that trust once, and you're not just locked out, you're gone from her memory like corrupted data wiped from a hard drive. She doesn't forgive and rebuild the same way others do. She upgrades her system and changes the locks. Number 6. She doesn't seek love. She studies it like a threat. She doesn't seek love, she studies it like a threat. Not because she's heartless, but because she understands how dangerous love can be when given without awareness. The Sigma female has seen too many people use affection as a leash, not a gift. So when love appears, she doesn't melt. She analyzes. Every compliment, every gesture, every silence, all are data points she reads like encrypted codes. She's not suspicious for sport. She's cautious for survival. Love, to her, is a potential vulnerability disguised as beauty, and she refuses to let it turn into a weapon against her peace. When someone claims to care, she looks beyond the words. What do they want in return? What's their rhythm when they're not being watched? She notices the pauses between the sweet talk, the tone when you think she's not listening, the tiny shifts in attention when she pulls back emotionally. Where others fall headfirst into emotion, she maps the terrain first. Because she knows. The same people who promise to hold you up often study where to hit when they're angry. This doesn't mean she's incapable of love. On the contrary, she feels deeply, maybe too deeply. But her feelings are disciplined. She doesn't chase butterflies. She watches the patterns they fly in. She wants love that's stable, not performative. She craves connection, not control. But she also knows that most relationships are built on emotional dependency, disguised as devotion. That's the trap she refuses to enter. Her version of love is freedom with loyalty, closeness without ownership. It's not romantic in the traditional sense. It's realistic. She's not afraid of being alone, so she never bargains her independence for affection. And that balance, that calm self-containment, terrifies people who mistake attachment for intimacy. To love her means to understand that she's not looking for someone to complete her. She's looking for someone strong enough not to disturb her peace. She won't surrender her clarity just to feel desired. She'd rather walk alone with her dignity than drown in devotion that comes with conditions. That's why her love, when she finally gives it, isn't impulsive. It's earned, deliberate, and nearly indestructible. Number 7. She reads motives the way others read texts. She reads motives the way others read texts. For the Sigma female, communication isn't about words. It's about patterns, energy, and hidden intent. She's the type who catches what most people miss: the half-second pause before a lie, the too perfect smile, the tiny shift in your tone when your ego slips through. Her perception isn't something she brags about. It's something she's learned to rely on like a survival skill. Because she's seen too many people wear kindness like camouflage and honesty like a costume. Her intuition functions like a silent algorithm. She doesn't need to confront or interrogate. She observes. One offbeat reaction and she's already rerouting her expectations. She pays attention not just to what you say, but to how you say it, when you say it, and what you avoid saying altogether. To her, words are the least reliable form of truth. It's the micro-movements, the small inconsistencies, the accidental reveals that tell her who you really are. By the time most people think they're winning her over, she's already built a detailed psychological profile in her head. Your desires, your fears, your triggers, your soft spots. She doesn't weaponize this knowledge out of malice. She simply understands that power comes from knowing, not reacting. And when you know the inner script of someone's ego, you can predict every move before they make it. That's what gives her the calm others mistake for detachment. She doesn't need to accuse anyone of deceit. She just distances herself the moment someone's behavior stops matching their narrative. To her, trust isn't about believing, it's about verifying alignment between words and action. Once that alignment breaks, she quietly adjusts her expectations to zero. No drama, No announcement, just precision. People often call her hard to manipulate, but it's simpler than that. She's just too observant to be fooled by emotional packaging. Every expression, every silence, every reaction writes a sentence in the story she's decoding. And the most unnerving part, she does it naturally. You can't hide your motives from someone who doesn't listen to your words. She listens to your truth, and that's a language most people accidentally speak. Number 8. Her self-respect is brutal, not romantic. Her self-respect is brutal, not romantic. She doesn't treat it like a slogan or a self-help mantra. It's her internal law, written in stone. The Sigma female doesn't pamper herself with affirmations. She disciplines herself with standards. To her, self-respect isn't about feeling worthy. It's about maintaining structure. It's the invisible system that decides who stays, who goes, and what never gets a second chance. When people cross her boundaries, she doesn't negotiate or explain. She enforces. Her detachment isn't cruelty, it's administration. She runs her emotional world like a government, not a playground. She doesn't ask to be valued. She monitors how people behave when they think she's not watching. If someone shows disrespect once, she doesn't explode. She takes note. Twice, and they're gone. It's that simple. Her standards aren't flexible because they're not emotional. They're built from the quiet promises she made to herself after every disappointment that taught her what happens when she bends too far. She's not trying to be strong. She's protecting the system that keeps her balanced. People who are used to manipulating emotions find her terrifying because she doesn't respond the way they expect. You can't guilt-trip her with nostalgia or talk her into lowering her guard with flattery. Once she's made her decision, it's final. No second auditions, no emotional discounts. When she cuts someone off, it's not an act of revenge. It's an audit. You failed compliance and access has been revoked. That's what makes her presence so commanding. She's not waiting for respect. She demands it silently through consistency. And when you meet a woman who refuses to betray her own boundaries for approval, it rattles you. Most people confuse flexibility with kindness, but she knows that too much empathy without enforcement is self-sabotage. Her version of self-love is unsentimental. She doesn't write quotes about healing. She enforces peace like a rulebook. That's why her life feels organized even in chaos, because her respect for herself is absolute. It's not poetic or soft. It's structured, sharp, and sovereign. You don't earn her loyalty with charm. You earn it by honoring the laws she built to protect her soul. Number 9. She's both the weapon and the healer. She's both the weapon and the healer. She doesn't wait for someone to save her, soothe her, or explain her pain. The Sigma female confronts her own damage with surgical honesty. When something breaks inside her, she doesn't drown in it, she dissects it. She studies what caused the cut, why it happened, and what lesson hides beneath the sting. That's why she's so calm when others would collapse. She's been through enough emotional wars to understand that strength isn't about never bleeding. It's about knowing how to stop the bleeding yourself. When she cuts with truth, it's not out of cruelty. It's precision. She says what needs to be said, because pretending never healed anyone. Her honesty might hurt, but it's clean pain, the kind that disinfects. The same way she uses truth on others, she uses it on herself. She doesn't sugarcoat her flaws or play victim. She faces her chaos like an engineer facing a malfunction. Fix it, improve it, move forward. That's her therapy. She doesn't outsource her healing because she's learned that most people don't really want to help. They want to feel useful. And she doesn't need comfort that comes with dependency. She'd rather rebuild herself from scratch than rely on someone who only shows up when she's broken. Her recovery is a blueprint she's refined over years: solitude, silence, reflection, and creation. She heals by mastering what once controlled her. This duality, being both destroyer and mender, is what makes her so rare. She's capable of ending a relationship, a belief, or a habit with one decisive act, then calmly tending to the emotional aftermath without bitterness. People think she's unfeeling, but the truth is she just refuses to let her emotions rule her longer than necessary. She bleeds, but she never wallows. Her power lies in that balance. She can be the storm that clears the air and the calm that follows it. Her strength isn't just in her ability to endure, it's in her ability to transform pain into precision. Every scar becomes data. Every heartbreak becomes architecture. She is her own weapon, her own cure, and her own evolution. All in one body. Number 10. She doesn't desire power. She prefers control. She doesn't desire power. She prefers control. Power, to her, is a performance. It's loud, political, and crowded with egos trying to prove who's in charge. Control, on the other hand, is silent. It's precision without spectacle, influence without exposure. The Sigma female doesn't want to lead the crowd. She wants to move the pieces that determine where the crowd ends up. Power is about being seen. Control is about being effective. And she's always chosen effectiveness over attention. She understands that people who crave power often end up trapped by it. They spend their lives managing followers, protecting status, and maintaining appearances. That's noise, and noise disturbs her equilibrium. She has no interest in being everyone's role model or savior. What she wants is the ability to decide, to adapt, and to withdraw without permission. Control is her freedom disguised as restraint. It's not dominance over others, it's dominance over herself and her circumstances. Her kind of control operates in subtleties. She influences through timing, silence, and observation. She doesn't have to command. Her consistency does that for her. She can walk into a situation and steer it with minimal words because she's mastered her reactions. That's where real control begins. Not in manipulating others, but in mastering your own emotional temperature while everyone else loses theirs. When people try to pull her into power games, she steps back. She knows how easy it is to mistake control for arrogance or ambition for wisdom. But she's not driven by ego. She's driven by outcomes. She'd rather move in shadows and shape results quietly than sit on a throne that requires constant defense. Her control is a kind of invisible architecture, unseen but undeniable. You may never notice her influence, but you'll feel its structure around you. That's the art of her existence. She doesn't fight for dominance. She designs it. And in a world where everyone's shouting to be heard, her silence becomes strategy. Power may impress the crowd, but control, calm, calculated, quiet control, rewrites the whole system without needing applause. Number 11. Her mind works like a spy network. Her mind works like a spy network. While most people rely on surface impressions, she's busy collecting fragments. The tone of your voice when you're relaxed versus when you're pressured, the timing of your replies, the contradictions between your stories, the subtle shifts in your energy. None of it escapes her notice. These fragments might seem insignificant to you, but to her they're signals, and she knows how to decode them. Piece by piece, she assembles a map of who you are beneath your words. This isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition honed by experience. She's learned that people rarely show you their true selves up front. They reveal themselves in fragments over time, in the cracks between what they say and what they do. Her empathy isn't just kindness, it's a surveillance tool. She uses it to sense tension, predict reactions, and test boundaries without ever appearing intrusive. Empathy gives her access to information most people never realize they've shared. By the time someone thinks they're charming her or outsmarting her, She's already built a psychological profile in her mind. Your motives, your fears, your insecurities, the angles you'll take under pressure. This gives her an unspoken edge. She doesn't need to confront or accuse. She already knows. And when she knows, she can decide whether to trust, distance, or strategically engage without giving away her own position. Her mind isn't chaotic with all this data. It's organized. Like a quiet intelligence agency, she stores and categorizes what she observes, not for gossip or manipulation, but for clarity and self-protection. People think she's hard to read because she shares so little of her inner process. They're right. She's not in the business of exposing her methods while she's gathering theirs. That's why her presence feels so steady and unnerving at once. You sense she's paying attention, but you can't tell how much she's already learned. Her ability to collect, analyze, and act on hidden information makes her unpredictable, not because she's trying to be mysterious, but because she's already several steps ahead. For her, observation isn't passive, it's power in its most silent form. Number 12. She destroys relationships quietly. When logic outvotes emotion. She destroys relationships quietly when logic outvotes emotion. She doesn't lash out or stage confrontations. Her mind doesn't argue, it calculates. The Sigma female recognizes patterns long before others see them. She notices subtle disrespect, repeated disregard, or energy that doesn't align with her values. When her intuition confirms a breach she can't tolerate, she doesn't waste energy negotiating or explaining. She removes the source from her life with surgical precision. This act isn't impulsive. It's deliberate. It's the culmination of observation, analysis, and emotional accounting. She's not angry. She's clear. There's no need for dramatic confrontations, guilt trips, or excuses. She doesn't feel compelled to justify her decisions because her boundaries are absolute and her reasoning airtight. When someone violates them, their absence is the natural consequence. The way she disappears is what makes it powerful. People are left wondering what went wrong because they never saw it coming. There's no argument to win, no apology to demand, only the quiet, undeniable fact that they no longer exist in her inner circle. That silence is more telling than any fight, more final than any declaration. Her calm exit communicates more than words ever could. For her, closure isn't a conversation, it's action. When she cuts ties, she doesn't circle back, she doesn't dwell, and she doesn't second-guess. She treats relationships like systems. If something is corrupted, it's removed to protect the integrity of the whole. Her emotional ecosystem has no room for repeated patterns of disrespect. This makes her terrifying to those who rely on manipulation or drama to maintain influence. They expect reactions, confrontations, or attempts to negotiate forgiveness. And when she gives none, they realize too late that her power doesn't come from noise, it comes from control. Her absence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. She doesn't need to explain, defend, or justify. She simply moves on, leaving clarity, order, and consequence in her wake. That's the ultimate expression of her authority, quiet, logical, and irreversible. She doesn't burn bridges, she simply removes them. And the world notices only the space she leaves behind. The Sigma female is a force few truly understand. She is the quiet storm, the strategist who doesn't need recognition, and the architect of her own destiny. She moves through life with a rare combination of precision, self-respect, and emotional intelligence that borders on dangerous to those accustomed to mediocrity. She doesn't chase validation, she calculates it. She doesn't forgive carelessly, she recalibrates. She doesn't seek power, she commands control. Every word she speaks, every silence she keeps, every boundary she enforces is part of a grand design, one that protects her peace, sharpens her mind, and elevates her presence. To interact with her is to play a game you didn't know you were in. Her trust is earned, her attention is selective, and her perception is razor sharp. She sees motives like others read words, measures affection like others measure wealth, and wields truth as both sword and shield. Her solitude isn't loneliness. It's a laboratory where she observes, evolves, and strengthens herself beyond the reach of ordinary influence. And while the world may misunderstand her, misinterpret her, or even fear her, she thrives in the silence of clarity, the calm of strategy, and the mastery of self. The Sigma female isn't a trend or a persona you can adopt. She's a rare alignment of instinct, intellect, and integrity. She's not meant to fit into the noise of the world. She's meant to rise above it. And that is why her path will always be solitary, her decisions precise, and her impact quietly unforgettable. If you resonated with this insight into the mind of the Sigma female, if you felt the pull of understanding her power, her strategy, and her unwavering presence, don't let this knowledge fade. Subscribe to the channel to uncover more truths few dare to speak aloud. Like this video to honor the strength of clarity over chaos. Comment below to share your thoughts or experiences with the Sigma mindset. And share this with someone who needs to understand what it truly means to be untouchable, unseen, and unshakable. This is more than content. It's a lesson in strategy, power, and the art of being a Sigma female.